In the heart of Devon, where mist clings to ancient stones and the wind hums secrets through gnarled oaks, Barry Pomeroy Castle looms like a forgotten dream. Its crumbling towers and ivy-choked walls whisper of a time when knights and ladies walked its halls, their laughter echoing through grand feasts. But now, in the autumn of 1853, the castle stands as a hollowed relic, its shadows alive with stories no one dares speak aloud. Among the villagers of Totnes, tales of ghostly apparitions and cursed bloodlines swirl, but none are as haunting as the legend of Eleanor, the girl who vanished within those walls, and the secret she carried into the dark. Amelia Hawthorne, a spirited 12-year-old with chestnut curls and eyes that sparkled with curiosity, had always been drawn to the castle. Her father, a stern blacksmith, forbade her from venturing near it, muttering warnings of spirits that preyed on the living. But Amelia's heart was wild, untamed by fear or rules. She spent her days sketching the world around her wildflowers, riverbanks, and the castle's silhouette against stormy skies. To her, Barry Pomeroy wasn't a place of dread, but a canvas of mystery, begging to be explored that one crisp October evening. As the sun bled orange across the horizon, Amelia slipped away from her chores. The village was abuzz with preparations for the harvest festival, and no one noticed her small figure darting through the fields toward the castle. She carried her sketchbook, a pencil, and a lantern, its weak glow dancing in the gathering dusk. The air grew colder as she approached the castle's ruined gatehouse, its archway yawning like a mouth ready to swallow her whole dot inside. The courtyard was silent, save for the rustle of leaves skittering across cracked stones. Amelia's lantern cast long shadows that seemed to shift and sway as if alive. She wandered deeper, her footsteps muffled by moss, until she reached the great hall. Its vaulted ceiling was half collapsed, moonlight spilling through jagged holes. She settled on a stone bench, opened her sketchbook, and began to draw the hall's skeletal beauty dot as her pencil scratched across the page. A faint sound broke the silence, a soft, trembling sob. Amelia froze, her heart thudding. The sob came again, delicate and sorrowful, from the shadows beyond the hall. She held up her lantern, its light revealing nothing but dust motes swirling in the air. "Hello," she called, her voice small but brave. The sobbing stopped, replaced by a whisper, so faint it might have been the wind. "Help me." Amelia's curiosity outweighed her fear. She followed the sound, her lantern trembling in her grip, down a narrow corridor lined with crumbling tapestries. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of damp stone and something sweeter, like fading roses. At the corridor's end stood a heavy oak door, its iron hinges rusted but intact. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, weaving her name into their plea. "Amelia, help me." She pushed the door open, revealing a small chamber. In the center stood a girl, no older than Amelia, dressed in a tattered gown of white lace. Her hair was pale as moonlight, her eyes hollow and shimmering with unshed tears. She seemed to glow faintly, her form wavering like a reflection in disturbed water. "Who are you?" Amelia whispered, her breath catching. "I am Eleanor," the girl said, her voice a fragile thread. "I've been waiting for someone to find me for so long." Amelia's heart ached at the sadness in Eleanor's eyes. "What happened to you?" she asked, stepping closer. The air around Eleanor was icy, but Amelia didn't flinch. Eleanor's gaze drifted to the floor, where faint scratches marked the stone letters, perhaps were symbols. "I was like you once," she said. "I loved this castle. I came to play, to dream, but I found something. Something they didn't want anyone to know." "Who's they?" Amelia asked, her sketchbook forgotten in her hand. Eleanor's eyes darkened. "The Pomeroys. The family who owned this castle. They hid a terrible secret," and I paid the price for finding it. She pointed to the scratches on the floor. Look closer. Amelia knelt, holding her lantern low. The scratches formed words, faint but legible. Truth lies beneath. Her fingers traced the letters, and the stone beneath them shifted slightly, as if loose. Heart pounding, she pressed harder, and a small section of the floor gave way, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside lay a leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed but intact. Eleanor's voice grew urgent. Read it. You must know. Amelia opened the journal, its pages filled with elegant, frantic handwriting. It belonged to Margaret Pomeroy, a lady of the castle in the 16th century. The entry spoke of a forbidden love between Margaret and a commoner, a man named Thomas. The Pomeroy family, obsessed with their noble bloodline, discovered the affair and locked Margaret in this very chamber to cleanse her shame. But the journal revealed a darker truth. Margaret was pregnant, and the family, fearing scandal, poisoned her to ensure no heir of mixed blood would taint their legacy. The final entry, scrawled in desperation, cursed the Pomeroys and swore her spirit would never rest until the truth was known. Amelia looked up, tears stinging her eyes. They killed you. Because you found this? Eleanor shook her head, her form flickering. Not me. I was a village girl like you. I found the journal 2 centuries later. I tried to tell the world, but the Pomeroy's curse lingers. Their spirits guard this place, and they took me. Her voice broke. They trapped me here in the shadows to keep their secret safe. A chill ran through Amelia. The air grew heavier, the shadows in the chamber twisting into shapes tall. Cloaked figures with hollow eyes, the Pomeroys. Their whispers filled the room, cold and menacing. Leave the journal. Leave the girl. Amelia clutched the journal to her chest. No, she said, her voice trembling but defiant. The truth deserves to be told. The shadows surged forward, their icy hands reaching for her. But Eleanor stepped between them, her faint glow flaring bright. She is not yours. Eleanor cried, and the chamber shook, stones crumbling from the walls. Amelia stumbled back, the journal slipping from her hands. As it hit the floor, a blinding light erupted, and the shadows screamed, dissolving into the air. When the light faded, Eleanor stood alone, her form more solid, her eyes softer. You freed me, she whispered, by seeing the truth. You broke their hold. Amelia's heart raced. But why me? Eleanor smiled, a wistful, knowing smile. Because you're brave, Amelia. Because you see the world not just as it is, but as it could be. She reached out, her hand passing through Amelia's like a cool breeze. Take the journal. Tell the world. Let Margaret rest. Amelia nodded, tears streaming down her face. She picked up the journal, its weight heavy with centuries of pain. As she turned to leave, Eleanor's voice called out one last time. Look in the locket. Confused, Amelia reached into her pocket, where she kept a small silver locket her. Mother's, passed down through generations. She'd never opened it, assuming it was empty. But now, trembling, she clicked it open. Inside was a tiny portrait of a girl with chestnut curls and sparkling eyes. Below it, in faded ink, was a name, Amelia Pomeroy. Her breath caught. She looked back, but Eleanor was gone, the chamber silent. The truth hit her like a wave. She was a descendant of Margaret's lost child, the one the Pomeroys thought they'd erased. The journal wasn't just a story, it was her story. Amelia ran from the castle, the journal clutched tight, her lantern swinging wildly. The night air was crisp, the stars bright above. She didn't stop until she reached the village, where she told her father everything. At first, he didn't believe her, but the journal's pages, filled with Margaret's words, convinced the village elders. The story of Margaret Pomeroy spread, her curse lifted, her name honored at last. Years later, Amelia, now a young woman, stood before Barry Pomeroy Castle. her sketchbook filled with drawings of its beauty and its ghosts. She'd published Margaret's story, ensuring the world knew the truth. The castle no longer felt heavy with dread. Its shadows were quiet, its spirits at peace. But sometimes, on quiet nights, Amelia swore she heard a soft voice whispering her name, thanking her for setting them free. And in her locket, she carried the portrait of her ancestor, a reminder that courage and truth could break even the darkest curses. The mist hung thicker over Barry Palmer Castle as Amelia Hawthorne, now 13, returned to its haunted grounds in the autumn of 1854. A year had passed since she uncovered Margaret Pomeroy's journal and revealed the cursed truth of her family's treachery. The village of Totnes had embraced the story, honoring Margaret with a memorial, and the castle's oppressive air seemed lighter. But Amelia felt an unshakable pull, a whisper in her dreams urging her back to the ruins. Her locket, bearing the thought of portrait of her ancestor, grew warm against her skin, as if Margaret herself was calling. Armed with her sketchbook, a new lantern, and a courage hardened by her first encounter, Amelia slipped away at dusk, unaware that the castle's darkest secrets were far from buried. The castle loomed larger in the twilight, its towers clawing at the bruised sky. The air was sharp with the scent of wet earth and decay. Amelia's lantern flickered as she crossed the gatehouse, her boots crunching on gravel. The courtyard was eerily still, the silence broken only by the distant hoot of an owl. She clutched the locket, its warmth pulsing like a heartbeat, and whispered, "Eleanor, are you here?" No answer came, but the air tightened, as if the castle itself was listening. Amelia's goal was the chamber where she'd found the journal, driven by a dream of Eleanor pointing to a hidden door. She navigated the great hall, its collapsed beams casting jagged shadows. The corridor to the chamber felt narrower, the walls closing in. Her lantern's glow revealed fresh scratches on the stone-clawed marks, too deep for human hands. Her heart quickened, but she pressed on, driven by the need to understand why the castle still called her. The oak door to the chamber was ajar, its hinges groaning as she pushed it open. The room was colder than before, the air thick with the sickly sweet scent of roses and something metallic like blood. The floor where she found the journal was disturbed, the loose stone shattered. In its place was the trapdoor, its iron ring glinting in the lantern light. Amelia's breath hitched. This wasn't here last year. She knelt, her fingers trembling. As she grasped the ring, the trapdoor creaked open, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness. A low moan echoed from below, not Eleanor's soft plea, but something guttural and enraged. Against every instinct screaming to run, Amelia descended, her lantern casting wild shadows on the damp walls. The stairs twisted deeper than she'd imagined, the air growing colder, heavier, until she reached a cavernous chamber lit by an unnatural green glow. The chamber was vast, its walls carved with strange runes that pulsed faintly. In the center stood a stone altar, stained dark with what looked like dried blood. Around it, spectral figures hovered tall, cloaked, their faces hollow and eyeless, the Pomeroys. Their whispers filled the air, sharp and venomous. "You should not have come, child of Margaret." Amelia's locket burned against her chest, and she clutched it, her voice steady despite her fear. "I'm not afraid of you. The truth is out. You can't hide anymore." The specters laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "The truth?" One hissed, its voice layered with centuries of malice. "You uncovered but a fragment?" The journal was a lure, a trap to draw Margaret's blood back to us. The figures glided closer, their forms coalescing into a single towering shadow. "This castle's our prison, and your blood is the key to our freedom." Amelia stumbled back, her lantern swinging. The shadow lunged, its icy claws grazing her arm, leaving a burning chill. She screamed, dropping the lantern, which shattered. plunging the chamber into near darkness save for the rune's sickly glow. The shadow's voice boomed, "You will join Eleanor, bound to these stones forever." A faint light flickered behind Amelia Eleanor's glowing form, weaker than before, her face etched with fear. "Run, Amelia," she cried. "They're stronger now." The journal woke them, and they want your life to break their curse. Amelia's mind raced. She remembered the journal's final words, "Truth breaks the chain." But what more was there to know? She dodged another swipe from the shadow, her eyes darting to the altar. The runes pulsed faster, and she noticed a pattern, a name repeated in the carvings. Thomas, Margaret's lover. The journal hadn't told his fate. "Eleanor, what happened?" "To Thomas?" Amelia shouted, scrambling toward the altar. Eleanor's voice was faint. "They killed him, buried him here, to seal the curse." Amelia's hands grazed the altar, and the stone shifted, revealing a hollow beneath. Inside lay a skeleton, its bones wrapped in tattered cloth, a rusted dagger through its ribcage. A glint caught her eye, a silver ring on the skeleton's finger engraved with a rose, matching the locket's design. "Thomas," the shadow roared, its form splitting into the Pomeroy specters again, their claws slashing the air. "You cannot undo what was done," they shrieked. But Amelia's fear turned to fury. She grabbed the ring, its metal warm like her locket, and held it high. "This is the truth you hid," she yelled. "Thomas and Margaret loved each other, and you murdered them both. Their love wasn't your shame, it was your crime." The runes flared, and the specters screamed, their forms wavering. Eleanor's glow brightened, her voice stronger. "Speak their names, Amelia. Free them." Amelia's voice rang out, clear and unbroken. "Margaret and Thomas, I see you. Your love was real. Your child lived. I am your legacy." She slipped the ring onto her finger beside the locket, and a surge of warmth flooded her. The chamber shook, stones cracking, the runes exploding in bursts of light. The specters howled, their forms dissolving into ash, swept away by an unseen wind. The altar crumbled, and a soft light rose from Thomas's bones, joining Eleanor's glow. Two figures emerged, Margaret and Thomas, their faces peaceful, hands entwined. "Thank you," Margaret whispered, her voice like a lullaby. "You've broken the chain." They faded, their light merging with Eleanor's, who smiled at Amelia. Before vanishing, Amelia climbed the stairs, the ring and locket warm against her skin. The castle felt different, lighter, as if breathing freely for the first time in centuries. She emerged into the courtyard, the dawn breaking over the horizon, painting the runes gold. The village would hear this story too, and the Pomeroy's curse would be nothing but a memory. Years later, Amelia, now a renowned artist, painted Barry Pomeroy Castle not as a place of fear, but of redemption. Her locket and ring, always worn, reminded her of the night she faced the shadows and won, not with weapons, but with truth and courage. The autumn of 1855 cast a somber pall over Barry Pomeroy Castle, its stones shrouded in a fog that seemed to pulse with malice. Amelia Hawthorne, now 14, stood at the edge of the castle's crumbling gatehouse, her chestnut curls damp from the mist, her locket and Thomas's ring glinting faintly under her cloak. 2 years had passed since she freed Margaret and Thomas from the Pomeroy's curse, and a year since she banished the specters in the rune-lit chamber below. The village of Totnes hailed her as a hero, but her dreams were haunted by a new, darker whisper, not Eleanor's gentle plea, but a guttural growl that called her name with hunger. The locket burned against her chest, and the ring tightened on her finger, as if warning her of a threat unvanquished. Against her father's pleas, Amelia returned, her sketchbook replaced by a satchel of tools, a dagger, a vial of holy water from the village priest, and a notebook to record what she found. The castle wasn't done with her, and she wasn't done with it. The air was thick with the stench of rot as Amelia crossed the courtyard, her boots sinking into mud that seemed to writhe beneath her. The great hall was darker than she remembered, its shadows coiling like serpents. Her lantern, sturdier than the one she'd shattered last year, cast a frail light, revealing claw marks gouged into the walls fresh, deep, and oozing a black, tar-like substance. Her heart pounded, but the locket's warmth urged her forward, toward the chamber where she'd found the trapdoor. The oak door hung off its hinges, splintered as if struck by a beast. The trapdoor was open, its spiral staircase descending into an abyss that pulsed with a low, rhythmic thud, like a heartbeat. The air was heavy, laced with a metallic tang that made her stomach churn. As she stepped onto the stairs, a voice not Eleanor's, but deep and jagged, echoed from below. "Amelia, you cannot escape the blood you carry." The staircase seemed endless, each step colder, the walls slick with that same black ooze. Her lantern flickered, its flame dimming as if starved of air. At last, she reached a new chamber, far larger than the last, its ceiling lost in darkness. The floor was a mosaic of cracked bones, forming a spiral that led to a jagged pit at the center, glowing with a sickly crimson light. The runes from last year were gone, replaced by carvings of twisted, eyeless faces, their mouths open in silent screams. The heartbeat thud was louder here, shaking the ground beneath her feet. From the pit rose a figure, not the cloaked Pomeroy's, but something worse. It was humanoid but warped, its limbs too long, its face a featureless void save for a gaping maw filled with needle-like teeth. Its body was a mass of writhing shadows, dripping black ooze that hissed as it hit the bone floor. "Child of Margaret," it growled, its voice a chorus of anguish. "You broke the seal. You woke me." Amelia's hand tightened around the dagger in her satchel. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the terror clawing at her chest. "I am the hunger," it said, gliding closer, its maws stretching wider. "The Pomeroys bound me here with blood, fed me their sins to keep their power. Margaret's death was my first feast, Thomas's my second, but your blood is the last key to my freedom." Amelia's locket burned hotter, and the ring pulsed, sending a jolt of clarity through her fear. The journal, the ring, the locket, they weren't just relics. They were wards, fragments of Margaret and Thomas's love that held this thing at bay. But her actions had weakened the seal, and now it was awake, ravenous. The hunger lunged, its claws slicing through the air. Amelia dove behind a fallen pillar, the bone floor cutting her palms as she landed. She uncorked the holy water and flung it at the creature. It shrieked, its shadows sizzling, but it didn't stop. "You cannot kill what was never alive," it taunted, its form swelling to fill the chamber. Amelia's eyes darted to the pit, its crimson glow pulsing in time with the heartbeat. The notebook in her satchel held her notes from last year, Margaret's curse, Thomas's ring, the rune's power. She realized the pit wasn't just a hole. It was the heart of the curse, the source of the hunger's strength. If she could destroy it, she might end this. She scrambled toward the pit, dodging the hunger's claws, which tore chunks from the walls. The black ooze seeped into her boots, burning her skin, but she pressed on. At the pit's edge, she saw it, a pulsating mass of shadow and bone, writhing like a living heart. Above it floated a faint, familiar glow. Eleanor, her form barely visible, her eyes wide with desperation. "Amelia," she whispered, "the pit is its anchor. Use the wards." Amelia pulled the locket and ring from her neck and finger, holding them up. Their warmth flared, a beacon of light in the crimson gloom. The hunger roared, its claws slashing at her, but the ward's glow held it back, burning its shadows. "Margaret, Thomas," Amelia shouted, her voice echoing. "Your love binds this evil. Help me." The locket and ring vibrated, their light merging into a blinding beam. The pit shuddered, the bone floor cracking. Eleanor's glow joined the beam, her voice rising. "Speak the truth, Amelia. Name the sin." Amelia's mind raced, piecing together the journal's hints and the carvings. Screams. The Pomeroys hadn't just killed Margaret and Thomas. They'd sacrificed them to this entity, trading their lives for power. "You fed on their love," she cried. "You twisted their deaths into your strength. But I am their blood, and I reject you." The pit exploded in light, the hunger screaming as its form unraveled. The bone floor collapsed, and Amelia fell, clutching the wards. She landed hard on a ledge, the pit above sealing shut, its crimson glow fading. The chamber was silent, the heartbeat gone. Eleanor's faint form appeared beside her, smiling weakly. "You did it," she said. "The hunger is bound again. But it's not gone forever." Amelia's chest heaved, her hands bleeding, the ward still warm. "Will it come back?" she asked. Eleanor's glow dimmed. "Not while your blood carries their love. Keep the words close." She faded, her voice a final whisper. "You're stronger than you know." Amelia climbed back to the surface, the castle trembling as she emerged into the dawn. The fog had lifted, the air clean. She bound her wounds and tucked the locket and ring into her satchel, their weight a promise and a burden. The village would never know how close they'd come to ruin, but Amelia carried the truth in her scars. Years later, as an artist and guardian of the castle's secrets, Amelia painted the pit's horror, hiding its truth in her art. The locket and ring never left her, a reminder that some evils could only be bound, not destroyed, and that her blood was both a curse and a shield. In the autumn of 1856, Barry Pomeroy Castle stood as a silent sentinel, its stones weathered by time and the battles Amelia Hawthorne had fought within its walls. Now 15, Amelia bore the scars of her encounters, faint burns on her palms. From the black ooze, a steely glint in her eyes that belie her youth. The locket and Thomas's ring, her ancestral wards, hung heavy around her neck and finger, their warmth a constant reminder of the hunger she'd bound in the pit below. The village of Totnes whispered of her bravery, but her dreams were plagued by a new terror, a voice, not the hunger's guttural snarl, but a soft, familiar lilt that called her back. It sounded like her own. Driven by a dread she couldn't name, Amelia returned one last time, her satchel packed with her dagger, holy water, a new lantern, and a journal where she'd scrawled every detail of her battles. The castle held one final secret, and its truth would unravel everything she thought she knew. The night was moonless, the castle swallowed by a fog so dense it seemed to breathe. Amelia's lantern barely pierced the gloom as she crossed the courtyard, where the air pulsed with a low hum like a distant chant. The claw marks from last year were deeper, streaked with that black, hissing ooze, now glowing faintly purple. Her locket burned, the ring tightening until it bit into her skin. She whispered, "Eleanor, Margaret, Thomas, guide me," but no glowing figures answered. The silence was a weight, pressing her toward the great hall. The hall was a ruin of splintered beams and shattered stone, the air thick with the stench of decay and something sharper ozone, like a storm about to break. The trapdoor to the pit was gone, replaced by a jagged crevice in the floor, pulsing with that same purple light. The hum grew louder, forming words she couldn't decipher, tugging at her mind. Amelia's hand hovered over her dagger, but the locket's heat urged her toward the crevice. She tied a rope to a pillar, secured it around her waist, and descended, her lantern swaying as the walls closed in. The crevice opened into a new chamber, vaster than any before, its ceiling a dome, a jagged stalactite dripping ooze. The floor was a mirror of polished obsidian, reflecting the purple glow from a crystalline structure at the center, a pulsating, multifaceted gem the size of a man, its surface etched with runes that writhed like living things. The hum was deafening. Now a chorus of voices chanting her name, Amelia, Amelia. Her reflection in the obsidian showed not just herself, but a figure behind her herself, yet not. The other Amelia had her chestnut curls, her green eyes, but her smile was cruel, her hands dripping black ooze. "You're not real," Amelia whispered, gripping her dagger. The doppelganger laughed, her voice a twisted echo of Amelia's own. "Oh, I'm real, sister. More real than you." She stepped closer, her form shimmering. "You thought you bound the hunger, but you only fed it. Every truth you uncovered, every ward you wielded, strengthened me." Amelia's heart froze. "Sister?" The doppelganger's eyes gleamed. Margaret's child wasn't one, but two. Twins born in secret, one spirited away to live, one sacrificed to seal the hunger's prison. You carry the locket, the ring, the blood of the living twin. I am the other, bound to the castle, my soul woven into the hunger's heart. She gestured to the crystal. "You woke me when you broke the seals, and now I'll take what's mine, your life, your blood, your freedom." The crystal pulsed, and the chamber shook, stalactites crashing around them. The doppelganger lunged, her ooze-slick hands grasping for Amelia's throat. Amelia slashed with her dagger, but it passed through the doppelganger like smoke, her laugh echoing. "You can't kill your own blood," she taunted, her form splitting into a dozen shadowy Amelias, circling her. Amelia's mind raced, the locket and ring scorching her skin. The journal's words flashed in her memory. "Truth breaks the chain," but what truth remained? The doppelganger's words gnawed at her twins, one sacrificed. If she was Margaret's living heir, this creature was her sister, twisted by the Pomeroy's curse. The crystal was the key, not just the hunger's anchor, but the prison of her twin soul. She dodged a shadowy claw, splashing holy water, which hissed but didn't stop the doppelganger. "You can't win," the shadow smeared. "Join me or die." Amelia's eyes locked on the crystal. Its runes pulsed with her heartbeat, mirroring the locket and ring. She realized the truth wasn't just about Margaret and Thomas. It was about her twin, unnamed, unloved, sacrificed to the hunger. "I see you," Amelia whispered, her voice breaking. "You're my sister. You deserved a life, a name. I'm sorry." The doppelganger faltered, her shadows flickering. Amelia pulled the locket and ring from her neck and finger, pressing them against the crystal. "Your name is mine," she said, tears streaming. "Amelia, you're not the hunger's, you're mine." The words flared, their light blinding, and the crystal cracked, the runes dissolving. The doppelganger screamed, not in rage but anguish, her form coalescing into a girl identical to Amelia, her eyes filled with pain. "I wanted to live," the twin whispered, her voice soft, human. "They took me." Amelia reached out, her hand passing through her twin's fading form. "I'll remember you," she vowed. "I'll live for both of us." The crystal shattered, the chamber collapsing in a roar of light and stone. Amelia pulled the rope, climbing as the crevice sealed behind her. The purple glow extinguished Dot. She emerged into the courtyard, dawn breaking through the fog. The castle was silent, its malice gone. The locket and ring were cold now, their power spent. Amelia's journal lay open, its pages filled with her twin's story, a name reclaimed. Amelia, the sacrificed twin. Finally free. Years later, Amelia, now a celebrated artist and historian, built a memorial at Barry Pomeroy for her twin, naming her Amelia Rose. Her paintings captured the castle's beauty and pain, but she never returned. The locket and ring rested in a museum, their story told, a testament to two sisters who broke the final veil of a cursed legacy with love and truth.